Brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music is to play, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit the dark, shine your lights
Good evening. A 16-year-old student is dead, killed on a school compound, and the evidence suggests the administration knew something was wrong long before the attack blow was struck. Tonight, we ask what duty of care means in practice, because the questions do not stop at one school. Nearly 1,000 Jamaican children remain unaccounted for in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. And the schools designated to find them are the same schools now doubling as emergency shelters. Across the Caribbean, the newsrooms that would hold these institutions accountable are going dark, one by one, within weeks of each other, at the precise moment the region needs them most. And tonight, a Jamaican speaks to us live from Doha, Qatar, where Iranian missiles have struck energy facilities. The United States Embassy has ordered an evacuation, and the question of how to get home has no clear answer. These are the stories about what happens when the systems designed to protect the most vulnerable among us at the same time fail. I'm Jodie Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story. We broke the news yesterday on Lead Story. Now we begin tonight with an examination of the institutional systems and whether they failed with the tragedy at Ocho Rios High School. The matter of the death is a public investigation by the police. That said, here's what we know. 16-year-old Devonnie Shearer died after being struck in the head with a metal chair during an altercation at the Ocho Rios High School on Wednesday, March 4, 2026. Police confirm a 17-year-old student is in custody, handed over by his own family. Both students were recent transfers. The deceased enrolled in September of last year. The accused only last month. Reports indicate that the two had prior altercations, and that a previous beating involving the student and an adult civilian was videoed and shared on social media, and that non-students were involved in the broader dispute. But this isn't the only school that we're seeing this at. At Anchovy High School in St. James, a second violent altercation among students was also shared online this week. 2 schools, 1 week, 1 child dead. The legal question tonight is not new. It's settled, at least in principle, by the Supreme Court of Jamaica in January of this year. In the matter of Sullivan for a minor Moss versus the Norman Manley High School and the Attorney General of Jamaica, Justice Sonia Wint Blair found that a teacher's failure to intervene as tension escalated constituted, and I quote, a clear breach of the duty and standard of care owed to that student. The state was held liable, the taxpayer paid, and the rule is now clear. Inaction is not neutrality in a school. Inaction is negligence. The question tonight is whether Ocho Rios High knew early enough to have acted. Joining me now are Miss Anonia Jones, Vice President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, and Dr. Patrice Charles King, clinical psychologist. Ladies, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for being here. These are rough circumstances to be here with us, though, inside Lead Story. Anonia Jones, let me start off with you, because both students involved in Wednesday's tragedy were recent transfers. One enrolled in September, reports tell us, the other as recently as last month. That court ruling that I made reference to, the Sullivan ruling, established that the duty of care begins the moment a student steps onto that school compound. My question is whether it begins even earlier at the registration desk, because in this era of heightened aggression, do we have a functional system for sharing behavioral data between schools, or are we passing high-risk students from one institution to another without the support structures that data should trigger?
Thank you for that particular question, because I do believe it's a matter that we need to quite honestly and quite openly have a discussion about. Let us agree that children are young people under the age of 18 and that they have a right to be educated. Yes? Good. Let us also agree that the primary source of education is our formal education system, and where it is that we find that the behaviors do not conform with what is required within schools for a safe school environment and for effective education, then we may have to think about alternative spaces, such as children who get placed in child state care or correctional facilities that they too need to be educated. Now, we do have, as high school principals, a responsibility to facilitate these teenagers getting an education, and we take that quite seriously. Hence the reason that we do facilitate transfers for one reason or another for students from one school to the other. Now, we do have in most schools a system where a disciplinary reporting for is requested. So a child wanting to leave from school A to go to school B will be asked by school B to go back to their school and have completed a form that outlines their attendance patterns, behavioral issues, whether they needed any particular support, and then they take that to the school that they want to go to, and a decision is made on whether or not the child will be accepted. Now, Jamaica has an incredibly fluid system where children are moving all the time for one reason to the other. And you could even have slips in the system where a child is registered in two schools. We're getting better at that. But we must understand that even where there are disciplinary issues or a child needs particular support, they still need to be educated. And so the requests come all the time from the Ministry of Education to facilitate the transfer of a student, even where the child may even have an active court case, or it may be in the child's best interest to move because of ongoing conflict.
Well,
so the children still need to be somewhere.
The children need to be somewhere, but a parent of a child that is in a school that now is made aware that a child that has behavioral issues, going so far as you have said, an active court case, that is, that minor is before the Jamaican courts, might be concerned. Let's go back to that Supreme Court case there, Moss and Norman Manley High School, because the Supreme Court found the state liable, not because a teacher threw a punch, but because a teacher failed to intervene when they saw tension escalating. Reports indicate that a prior altercation involving this student and an adult civilian was videoed and circulated on social media before Wednesday's fatal incident. Mrs. Jones, at what point does a publicly circulating video of a student being beaten on or near a school compound constitute that the school should have known they constructively had notice and that they had a duty to act now, separating those two students, making sure that they were safe, understanding that there was an active and serious situation on the ground?
So the fight happens on the school compound. Let's take it from that angle.
And we have video here playing right now, blurred video right now, showing evidence of that.
Okay, so it happens, and they're separated. And they go and a report is made at the police station. We have no legal right, outside of a suspension to remove the child from education. Those are the rules that we're given to play by. So the child would have to come back to school. And if it's between an adult and a child, we have no legal right to take any disciplinary action against the adult. So the child has to be permitted to come back to school. We can only suspend by law for 10 days. That is it. The child has to come back unless it is that the board makes a decision to extend that suspension by 5 additional days, or they go through the disciplinary procedure to have that child expelled, at which point the child can be moved to another school. That's the law.
I think it sounds so stressful when you say it, Anonia Jones, because it sounds like you would want to be able to then intervene. You would want to be able to help. You would want to see these sorts of things, and your hands are bound.
This is my lived reality for 21 years of service to this country with 20 years left to retirement. I am a principal in an institution where when there is an altercation between children, the maximum punishment that I am legally allowed to give as a principal is to suspend them from school for up to 10 days. That's the maximum. When the 10 days are up, the board, having been duly notified, can extend it for a further 5 days, can even overturn the suspension and return them, or they can conduct a disciplinary hearing and expel them. It does not mean that this child does not need to go to another school. That's the reality.
We want to make sure that children continue their education, have this sort of right that is extended to them. Jamaica's constitution says it's for primary education, but we are making sure that they get educated up until 18, even longer than that here in Jamaica. Dr. Charles King, I move to you because you joined us here inside Lead Story last week when we were talking about the case of a young woman, Dacia Ferguson, there in Westmoreland, who had been now, as a result of a fight, going back, the reports say, to have a second fight with an individual, was now burned, 70% burns over her body. The Anchovy High fight and the fight leading up to it in the Ocho Rios killing, those were both recorded as well. All of these are recorded. All of these are shared widely. We also heard that there were recordings made in that Westmoreland case, and they all became viral videos before they became police matters. In your clinical assessment, has the performative nature of social media transformed these fights or these altercations, and especially schoolyard disputes, into a lethal theater where no one feels like can back down without losing face, especially if everybody has seen this video of them being hurt and harmed?
Absolutely. I believe that there's a social media amplification, and this creates pressure to retaliate publicly, which intensifies physical confrontations. So the students will experience online humiliation, cyberbullying, public shaming, and when their fights are recorded and circulated, as far as they're concerned, as far as their brains are concerned, they're now pushed into the space of, I have to survive. I have to go back and defend myself. And, you know, a lot of the times, I believe that violence in schools rarely starts in the schoolyard. It usually begins long before that, in their homes, in their communities. And you have to ask the question, are these children being taught how to manage their emotions? And so from a psychological factor that's driving violence among these students, I think that there is a tremendous amount of emotional dysregulation. Many of these children have never learned healthy emotional regulation. And if you take a look at the adults in their lives, they're not emotionally regulated either. So how are they going to pass that on? And so when they feel embarrassed or rejected or disrespected, their own personal nervous systems interpret it as a threat. So they go into survival mode. So instead of communicating and walking away or seeking help, they react through impulsive aggression. So many of these teenagers today, you know, anger is probably the only emotion that they have permission to show, because that's what they know.
And that is devastating when the consequences are the death of a child. When we come back, the schools where violence occurred this week are the same schools now sheltering families displaced by Hurricane Melissa. What happens when the place of danger is also the place of refuge? That question is next.
tired of the high interest rates and the whole heap of loan payments every month? Take a debt consolidation loan from AIM to pay credit card bills and all other high interest rate loans from other institutions. Make one low monthly payment to AIM and take home some extra money in your pocket. That's financial freedom. One loan, one low payment, more money in your pocket. Call AIM today to lower your loan payment. And remember, you won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Every dream conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit the dark, shine your lights on.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The Time by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Hurricane Melissa claimed more than 45,000 lives across the region. In Jamaica alone, UNICEF estimates that more than 280,000 children required urgent humanitarian assistance. 4 months later, though, here's where we are. Approximately 1,000 students remain unaccounted for in Ministry of Education Region 4 alone. As of February 23 this year, 9 schools in Hanover and Westmoreland are still functioning as emergency shelters. Those are school compounds with student populations, duty posts, and a court-confirmed legal obligation to provide safe learning environments. They're also now operating as open-access community shelters with high foot traffic and compromised record-keeping. The same spaces, then, where violence is occurring are now also the spaces where displaced families are sleeping. That overlap raises profound safeguarding questions. Questions that the Child Care and Protection Act 2004 and Article 19 of the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child place squarely on the Jamaican state. 5 agencies carry a mandate in this crisis. Their coordination, or lack of it, is what determines whether those 1,000 children are found. Still with me are Anonia Jones and Dr. Patrice Charles King. Mrs. Jones, when a school is also a shelter, who is in charge of safety? Is it the principal, the ODPM, the shelter manager, the police? Where does authority sit and where does liability sit when those roles collide?
And I'm going to choose option E, all of the above. And here is why. We are all Jamaican citizens, and we know that you are in a shelter because of a national disaster. And we also know that if you had somewhere else to go, highly likely you would not be in an institution, you would not be in a school. It therefore means that we have to look at, again, what are the plan Bs and Cs when it is that we reopen schools under this kind of a situation. Because if something should happen to the children as a result of the adults being in the environment, we're still, as principals, responsible under the duty of care to ensure that all these young persons that we have in our care are safe. And in order to do so, we have to keep the adults safe first. There's also the ODPM that would have the responsibility of ensuring that the added resources that are required for the persons within the shelter to be taken care of. It's a less than ideal situation, and we're going to have to look at it seriously, because there's no way that schools can operate like that and we have optimal learning and then we have persons being comfortable enough. It's just a messy situation that has to just be decisively handled. Again, there has to be other spaces that we consider using schools, they have the bathrooms, the kitchens, and those things. But I'm telling you, when you're preparing for CXC, literally in a few weeks with practical activities, young people with a ratio of 1 to 40, 1 to 50 teacher-student ratio, trying to keep everybody out of each other's space, cleaning up, dealing with all of that, it really is extremely difficult all around. And there has to be a point at which we say it's just not working.
Dr. Charles King, let me pull you in here, because if it is not working, we still have a devastating hurricane that has hit Jamaica in 2025. So devastating, in fact, that the name Hurricane Melissa has been retired. Yesterday, we've been told that it's officially retired because of the impact of this hurricane. No other hurricanes will now bear that name. But Dr. Charles King, we're accounting now for 45 lives lost and 1,000 missing children after Melissa. Is the aggression that we're seeing in our schools, what we saw in Antrovy, the horrific incident that we have now been made aware of at Ocherius High School, leading to the death of a student? Is it a form of displaced trauma, where students who have lost their own homes, lost their routines, have lost their sense of safety, are now lashing out in the only space they have left?
But just think about it. Think about everything that Ms. Jones just said a while ago, that they have to prepare for and that children have to go through. And then just think about just the devastation that Melissa caused. Children who experience that level of fear or loss or instability will absolutely struggle with anxiety, depression, and their brains will automatically go in survival mode. So you may find that they will disengage from school, and if there isn't an intervention right away, avoidance of school will become a coping mechanism. But even more than that, when you have children where their families are displaced after disaster, where there is community upheaval, where families are moving around from friend to friend or family to family frequently, just consistent school attendance would be difficult. Just the reality of the situation, because I always say that Kingston and Westmoreland or Trelawney, it's like we're living in two different Jamaicas. And so our kids got up and went to school with no problem in Kingston. But just think about just how difficult it was for children to even find their school books because everything was destroyed. And so they have the basic survival needs. And it's not education. It's loss of income. How can they help? So you may find even child labor or informal work. Students wanting to help their families financially and just drifting, out of school permanently because they're more focused on wanting to help their families just to survive with their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. So you'll find that school will become secondary to survival.
Let me ask you about that, because you have raised some of the real concerns that have been noted after disasters. Dr. Charles King, displacement research consistently shows that children in post-disaster environments face elevated risks of abuse, exploitation, psychological trauma, precisely because those normal protective structures dissolve. Children having to go into the workforce, parents now requesting and needing the help of some of their older children to take care of their younger. You're working in a Jamaica that's simultaneously managing the aftermath of Melissa, a student killing, a volatile global environment, because wars and rumors of wars are on the news every single day nowadays. Clinically then, what's the risk profile of a Jamaican child right now, and what are the systems in place proportionate to that risk?
Well, are you asking? That's for me?
That's for you, Dr. Charles King.
Well, that's a good question. And the fact is, we're so focused on trying to fix the country that I'm concerned that we may be ignoring the base of our country, which is our children, because our children are the future. And so are we restarting schools and restarting, I would say, families? We have to ensure that there is emotional literacy. We have to ensure that we support the families so that the families can engage the children at home. Are these being put in place? It's not just about putting up tent for a hospital. Yes, it's important. But are we going out Are we taking note of those children that are on the street right now? Are we engaging them? Are we bringing them together in under one of those tents to have them talk about just how they are feeling, what it is that they're going through? Are they able to access counseling services? Because again, it's so difficult to tell children, go to school and act normal. And we have to understand that a lot of the times we are reacting after violence happens. And at that point in time, we're just always arriving too late because we are reacting to what happens. We need to actually get in. We have to get on the ground. We have to get into the communities. We have to understand that we can't just overlook a child because they want to stay on the road. Children will respond if they have consistent involvement in their lives.
Well, that's
that working with children in the child development program, they will respond if they have consistent, positive mentorship in their lives.
I think that's so important that you've made that connection because as you have said, we have been very good about attempting to rebuild infrastructure, looking at how some of the physical parts of the devastation of Hurricane Melissa have been dealt with, but perhaps none of some of the psychosocial parts as well. Mrs. Jones, though, the name Melissa, we talked about it, has officially been retired by the World Meteorological Organization, the highest international acknowledgement that it was a once-in-a-century catastrophe. If the world has said in formal terms, this is what it is, why is the government still treating the shelter situation like a temporary inconvenience? Because if it was so bad that Melissa had to be moved, this looks like it might be a permanent state of affairs come September as well.
It's not only the children, it's also the adults who have to care for the children. A significant portion of my staff, for instance, people think that because my school was in Kingston, and we did not have any extraordinary physical damage because my building leaks all the time. So a few additional leaks and flooding. It was just a regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I had teachers whose families were from the West, whose family homes are damaged, whose families are looking to them to be the persons to help the entire family get on their feet. And they had to come to work as if nothing had happened. There is no family to go back to. Many of them are renting small apartments, rooms, sections of homes. And they're coming to work and have nowhere to go back to. Their farms are gone, their families' homes are gone, and they're dealing with that kind of loss. Survivor's guilt is a real thing. And we had to deal with that with a lot of our teachers. Things happened to them, but they felt that they couldn't talk about it because it wasn't so bad. We have children too who are now sharing a bed with not just a younger sibling, but with a cousin from somewhere else. We have our boys feeling as though because they're a man in the household and they want to take care of mommy or daddy, that they have to allow their little sisters to go to school and they have to help with activities to generate funds. A lot of our kids are going through a lot. We also assume that by giving money or resources to the adults that they get to the children. Oftentimes they do not. And the children are feeling powerless because things come in and they're not getting what they need to get. So we too have had a significant shift in our population, and we're having to, as school principals, not just give support to the children, but also as a professional association, give support to each other.
I think that's so important too, because we're having conversation about the children, forgetting that the adults, those teachers as well, have to navigate this with their own families going through it. Before we go though, we're having this conversation about the duty of care in the Moss and Norma Manley case. It said you need to have a duty of care for the children on the school compound. The Jamaica Teachers Association has used that as their argument to say the shelteries need to be off the school compound. Now we are asking if you can have a duty of care if you have so many people walking around on your school compound. You have to deal with those who have to stay there. You have to deal with your school children. Are you being given an impossible task?
Yes. And it is something that we need to look at, but we must do so sensitively with the assumption that people who had somewhere to go and had options would probably not be in a school up to today. And we don't want to forget that these persons are going through a lot and they need to feel wanted and cared for and loved on as well as we can do as Jamaicans while we balance resetting school to a place that provides optimal learning spaces for children by ensuring that the adults are okay and they can in turn be held accountable for making sure that the children are fine.
Rough conversation there, especially in the aftermath of the death of a child yesterday at the Ocherius High School. Mrs. Jones and Dr. Charles King, thanks both for joining us inside the show. Now, next segment is about the Caribbean's ability to hold any of these institutions accountable. The schools, the shelters, the ministries, they all depend on one thing: a free, functioning and financially viable press. After the break, the newsrooms that are going dark all across the region and what their silence costs all of us. Stay with us.
Country right now. One thing about Jamaicans, we might have differences, but we know when something is good for all of us. And when we work together against crime and violence, we are stronger than ever. And that's how we know the Citizen Security Plan can work. That one and CSP. The Citizen Security Plan is an initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union. It's an all-of-government effort to create safer streets and build stronger communities. Go to mns.gov.jm to learn how you can.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan pa.
What a guan?
What a guan? What a guan? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
And that's a guan pa. What a guan?
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Thanks so much for staying with us inside Lead Story. Before we begin this segment, we have breaking news because a major diplomatic shift is unfolding tonight in the Caribbean. The government of Jamaica has officially announced the discontinuation of its long-standing medical cooperation with Cuba. This breaking news comes at a critical moment for Havana, occurring less than 24 hours after Ecuador took the drastic step of expelling the Cuban ambassador and his entire diplomatic team. Kingston today confirmed that both governments, the government of Jamaica and the government of Cuba, were unable to agree on the terms of a new technical arrangement. The previous agreement expired in February 2023. And after 3 years of negotiations, the partnership has collapsed. However, Jamaica is taking a unique path to protect the public health system. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is now preparing to engage Cuban medical professionals on an individual basis. This means doctors and nurses currently on the island will be offered contracts under local labor laws, providing them with what the government calls personal certainty and well-being. The timing is striking because just yesterday, Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa declared that the Cuban mission personnel persona non grata, giving diplomats there just 48 hours to leave Quito. While Jamaica has expressed sincere appreciation for Cuba's half-century of service, the decision to bypass the Cuban government and hire doctors directly is a significant departure from the traditional Caribbean solidarity. For Jamaicans relying on the eye care program and public clinics, the message from the government is one of continuity. But for regional observers, the question is whether we are witnessing a systemic reevaluation of relations with Havana across Latin America and the Caribbean. We'll have more on the potential impact on our health sector as this story develops. All right, going to this segment now on the press and on the news and on what we just did a while ago. Give you breaking news. Because in recent months, major media organizations in Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and the wider region have shut down, or they have announced they will cease operations. Digicel's Loop News and Sportsmax, gone in 2025. TT Newsday, 32 years, final edition was on January 27th this year, 2026. II News in the Cayman Islands, closed January 2026. And Staybrook News in Guyana, 39 years of independent reporting. Well, they cease printing just 10 days from now on March 15th. It's not a business story, though. The Media Institute of the Caribbean said it plainly following the Newsday closure. What the region now faces is a crisis of what they call democratic disclosure, media pluralism, and citizens' access to diverse independent sources of verified information. Put in context, though, global print advertising has declined by 76% over 2 decades, from $110 billion US in 2004 to $26 billion in 2024. Advertising is migrating to platforms. Subscription bases in small Caribbean markets cannot compensate. And well, at least in one case, political pressure on state advertising spend may have just done the rest. Joining me now from Trinidad and Tobago is Kiran Maharaj, president of the Media Institute of the Caribbean. Kiran, thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Good evening, Jody Ann. I'm sorry I couldn't be here on happier terms.
Listen, but every time we talk, we're talking about rough and difficult conversations, Kiran. Hey. Start us off with what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago, because TT Newsday published its final edition on January 27th, 2026. After 32 years, Managing Director Grant Taylor cited the collapse of print advertising revenue, a 75% global decline over 2 decades. But the Caribbean market is not global. Caribbean media houses have historically been community institutions with loyal local readerships. What specific conditions in the Trinidad market turned a structural global problem into what appeared to have been now an immediate, irreversible local closure?
So I don't think this is a Trinidad problem. I really think this is a global problem, because what is happening is that with the newspapers in particular, people want to read news in a different way. So the news is there, but the vehicle for how we get it has changed. It's now in your hand. It's on everybody's mobile device. And so I think that is really what was the nail in the coffin, as they say, because what we've been seeing with big tech is that they have been taking a lot of the revenue. I want to say this too, something that I consider an issue we need to keep watch on. We need to really think about whether or not this is not cyber colonization. And when I say that, Jody Ann, what I'm talking about is the fact that all of these aggregated news platforms, people now go to Google. Well, ChatGPT is now the next big thing. They're reading news online. They're getting it in crisp snack bite sizes, right? But what big tech is doing is scraping the information that we are putting out. Not just newspapers, but our TV stations in this region, our radio stations. So we really need to consider, what are we going to do to protect who we are?
Australia has looked at this a year and a half ago. They had said, Google, when the journalists do their work and people don't click on their websites, allowing for them to get advertising revenue, you are robbing them blind and you are not compensating them for the work that they are doing. The scraping of news that you've spoken of means that when you go on Google, for example, and it gives you an AI summary, you might not have to click on any website to get information. Australia said they were putting an end to it, and international platforms said they weren't playing ball with Australia. Even if we see them doing this sort of scraping of our newsrooms, taking our information, do we as a region and worse individual countries have any clout to be able to push back?
I think we do, because what Australia did was they introduced the bargaining code. And not just Australia, you have other countries in the world that have been stepping up to do that. The EU also just passed their Media Act, and I think it has it looks at that in some detail. But I think for us in the region, we need to come together, because obviously with our economies of scale as it is, we can't do it alone, right? Jamaica can't do it alone, Trinidad can't do it alone. But what we have to consider is that this is about our cultural preservation and our cultural identity as a region. And I think if we got together, we can deal with it, because I think that the big tech companies are listening a little bit more right now. So MIC called for a look at the bargaining code of Australia. I think it was 4 years ago. You also have Canada's C18 Online Act, and you have other countries that have been doing it. So why not? Why are we not doing it? I feel that this is an area that maybe CARICOM could even look at.
Well, help us then understand, give us context. We've lost major newsrooms. When a major newsroom disappears across the region, what investigations die with it? Procurement, policing, election finance, environmental oversight? What gets lost first? And who benefits from that kind of silence?
Everything that we consider important to us is what is lost. I mean, you called some of them, but there's also a radio station in St. Kitts that closed this year. And they're probably smaller news outlets. And what we have to realize is that with the advances of AI is replicating a lot of who we are and what we are. So this is about a dwindling of democracy and a decimation of reality. Right? This is, I want to say it again, it is about cultural erosion. Our information ecosystems in this region, that's really what's under attack. And we as media and we as societies need to start thinking about how we introduce the concepts of media and information literacy. I say that because more and more what you're seeing with the younger audiences is that they are going after, you know, what is cinematic and what is catchy and what is trendy. As journalists in newsrooms, we have to redesign how we put out the news. That's one. But secondly, we have to also recognize that what the audiences want vary. Younger people want it the way I just said it to you. The older people, they want the in-depth news. So what are we doing internally to transform the newsrooms? And in that, are we reminding people about the misinformation and disinformation that is rampant on a lot of these platforms? I don't think we do a good job of that. We as media, we report on everybody. I don't know why we don't report on ourselves more. And I feel that the time has come when we have to get together and say, listen, we need to launch a campaign and explain to people what is happening. The one form of media that is standing the test of time and whose ad revenues are not dwindling as much is radio. And I think that's because, you know, radio at the end of the day, it's very local. It's the first virtual neighborhood in my mind, right? You listen to the radio station, you're probably going to hear what happened down the streets. That could impact you. And so radio is proving that there is a need for information and that the human capacity to feel emotion and to feel togetherness remains. So what are we doing to take advantage of that fact? I don't think we're doing enough, you know, and there's going to be a dismantling and defragmentation of what is in the public best interest if we don't address it soon.
I think it is going to be so important for us to have more of these conversations, help people understand where their news comes from and why the closure of newsrooms across the region impacts us all. Kiran Maharaj, president of the Media Institute of the Caribbean. Thank you for putting it in perspective for us. We don't have happy conversations when we meet, unfortunately. We're hoping to then have good news about the media next when we speak. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jody.
All right. Now we're watching a situation as well as Jamaicans make their way in the Middle East. We're watching now various countries, and we now take you to Qatar, where one Jamaican is making their way through it all. Stay with us. Next, Inside Lead Story.
If you're a woman in business, it's time to go bigger.
Your ambition is calling, and Horizon for Women in Business is answering.
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services designed for women entrepreneurs to unlock the capital you need to grow and take your business beyond limits. With quick approval, flexible repayment, and low interest rates, your success is on the horizon.
Call us now. The funds are waiting.
Your success is on the horizon.
Every dream conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music hits I play, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Qatar Energy, the world's largest liquefied natural gas producer, halted production at the Las Rafan Industrial City and the Mesaid Industrial area after Iranian drone strikes hit both facilities. The United States' embassy in Doha issued a shelter-in-place order. Residents near the embassy were told to evacuate. Hamad International Airport experienced significant disruptions. European benchmark gas futures surged nearly 50% within hours. Asian LNG prices rose by approximately 39 cents. And at your gas station today, here in Jamaica, you're paying $4 more for gas. The Strait of Hormuz, through which approximately 20% of all global oil and LNG transports, is now a flashpoint. And petroleum exports account for more than 90% of Jamaica's total energy usage. This isn't a geopolitical story, it's a fuel bill story. It's a food price story. It's a Jamaican story. We're checking on one Jamaican tonight. Ted Chambers, a Jamaican national, with us now in Doha, Qatar. Hi, Ted. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Are you safe and well, Ted?
Well, we're safe. I don't know about well. Physically fine, mentally finished.
Oi. Let's talk about that. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade held a meeting with approximately 178 Jamaicans in the region yesterday. Help me. Were you part of that meeting? Did you know about it? What happened in that meeting, if you did? Go.
Okay, I was invited, and I was unable to attend, unfortunately. I was briefed on what took place, what came out of it. I'm very grateful that our government is actually monitoring what's taking place with us over here. At present, we have no way out. The airspace is closed and will remain so for the foreseeable future. So we're stuck.
That sounds heavy right now, Ted. I'm going to put up a map right now of the region because persons hear Qatar, they have a sense of the Middle East, but they're not quite sure where everything is. Iran there to the west, Qatar there, quite small state, beside the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia behind you, and you have Turkey, where we heard reporting from yesterday at the top. You're in Doha, Qatar tonight, the capital of Qatar. Walk us through what the last 72 hours have looked like from where you're standing, what you can see, what you can hear, and what you've been told to do.
Okay, what we can see is we can see incoming missiles, more especially at night, where the trail is is very bright. The Qatari government has done an absolutely magnificent job in shooting down pretty much every incoming missile that would have harmed Doha. What we have been instructed to do, and it's Ramadan, which is the Muslim holy month, but everybody is out and about doing their thing. We get an alert on the phone, shelter in place. Immediately everybody goes inside, and we wait until we get what is essentially an all clear. Well, not an all clear, but we're instructed to remain indoors. And what I can see from where I am at.
And we're showing video as you speak to us, Ted, right now, for those watching, what it looks like to see then incoming missiles there. So for people, they're seeing what you're saying in real time and understanding then how emotional that could be.
Yes, it is I think it's the most harrowing thing I've ever had to deal with. Last June, we had some incoming fire from Iran that was shot down. That was the first time I'd ever heard a missile explode pretty much over my head. And the danger is not the missile itself right now. The danger that we face is the falling debris that occurs after one of these things are shot down. For instance, in Barwa City a few days ago, one was shot down, one unexploded ordnance, made it to the ground, hit the ground, exploded, started a massive fire. What I need everyone to understand is that Doha is a very small place, a population of 2 million. There are probably 250,000 Qataris. The rest of us are expats. It's a very small place, very, very dense place. So our population centers, if they get hit, it's not going to be pretty. It's difficult.
It sounds difficult, it sounds emotional. How is this affecting food, fuel, and daily supplies? Are people panic buying, or is the supply chain holding?
The supply chain is holding. The Qatari government has warehouses full of food. The country had undergone a blockade between 2017 and 2021, and at that time they changed a whole lot of things to ensure food and water security. We, of course, live in the desert. We have at any given point in time a maximum of 2 days worth of water, but we have desalination plants that they take ocean water and turn it into potable water. So we're secure from the food standpoint. There's no panic buying. It's pretty much life as normal until we get an incoming missile alert.
You're living, though, in a country that hosts the United States' largest military base in the Middle East. and simultaneously maintained a diplomatic relationship with Iran. Qatar has, in geopolitical terms, been trying to be everything to everyone. As someone living there right now, does it feel stable, or does it feel like a calculation that has finally run out of room, given that Iran has said it will hit 27 U.S. bases, and you have the biggest one?
Well, the air base has been hit. The radar that monitors the movement of all aircraft from that military installation was destroyed on the first or second day of the bombing. It is an area that is southwest of here, southwest of the city. So everyone has been instructed to stay away from that area. It's essentially been destroyed. And as a matter of opinion, what we're hearing back in the West doesn't really reflect the reality of what is taking place in the entire region. I heard you mention earlier that the Strait of Hormuz and the impact that is going to have on the fuel prices, which then translate into higher energy costs for electricity, for transport, for food, for everything, is going to felt right away. It's going to be felt enough and supply chains start becoming disrupted.
Yes. And that's certainly something that, especially as Jamaica goes into its budget debate next week, is going to be on the minds of so many people. Ted, before you go, there's so many people praying for you right now, praying for Jamaicans who are in the area. You starting off by saying that you can't leave, knowing that the U.S. Embassy area in Doha is being evacuated as we speak. Talk to Jamaicans. What do you want to say to them, if you can, especially with loved ones in the Gulf? What do you want to say to them tonight about what it is that you're experiencing and what is it they can do to support?
What everyone can do, I have been overwhelmed. I'm absolutely emotionally overwhelmed with the calls, the texts, the messages that I have received over social media. It really buoys us up. It gives us a good feeling to know that so many around the world are concerned with our well-being and are actively seeking to find out how we're managing, how we're doing. All I can say is thank you very, very, very much for the support. It does make a significant difference to your mental health in dealing with this crisis. From my vantage point, I don't see a swift resolution to this conflict, as neither side appears to be willing to back down. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality.
Ted, we send our best to you as you continue to stay strong. I do hope that you have a community of support around you as you go through this, and we here inside Lead Story want to continue to support you and check on you as you make it through this difficult time. Thanks so much, Ted Chambers, for joining us, a Jamaican in there in Doha, Qatar. All right. That's it now for today's edition of Lead Story. I'm Jody Ann Quarry. On behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you so much